Music is one of the most powerful ways to put a message out there.
It is a painful thing to tell a dark story. But we've learned that the louder you are, the more the forces of oppression will try to silence you.
It was really hard in the 90s to be a woman in a feminist band. Men were standing up and yelling, "Shut up and take it off."
In gangster rap, you had songs like "A Bitch is a Bitch." Queen Latifah was pushing back against this dominant archetype.
Chaka Kahn, she was the blueprint.
You have to fearlessly go into this madness, and you have to find your walk.
I have seen the world change and grow, but today, it seems like things are going backwards.
Music is more powerful now than ever because it's an example where people come together. What do I owe the women who came before me? I think we have a responsibility. We can't right the loss. Maybe we can inspire the people who do.
The fights that we're in can be overwhelming, and we lose the thread. Music lets us find it again.
Your song, I Am Woman, it suggests an aggressiveness in
It's
principle.
a positive statement, okay? Positive.
A lot of women before us paved the way to be as loud and proud as possible.
I was put on this earth to do music, to inspire and empower little girls to do things that we're not expected to do.
All right. How exciting. I mean, for me.
For us as well. We're delighted to meet you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. My name's Adam, and we're going to talk to Kristi Jacobson and Stacey Abrams about this new documentary it's currently, I'll say currently because I'll make sure I put this up once it's available so people can see it right away, which is highly recommended. It's on Max. I mentioned that, and Kristi is a documentary producer of note. Actually, I know one of your colleagues who you've worked with is Barbara Koppel over the years.
Yeah.
I'll be spending time with her this weekend, I'm assuming.
Oh, at the Woodstock Film Festival?
Yes, I work there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it at Woodstock. And I learned a lot from the inimitable Barbara Koppel.
My gosh. Yeah, what a gem, right? And Stacey, so honored and thrilled to have you on here. Thank you both for including me in your press. Yeah, in your press.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. All right, I was watching it, and one thing was occurring to me as I was watching all these beautiful women talk about all the I guess what the gratification of what they do and how much power it has, and how it affects so many people and how it can change the world, but I saw something else that was a little bit less obvious, and it was sort of this just incredible. Well, I wrote it down, so maybe I'll just read it if you don't mind.
Of
And
course.
then I'll shut up a little. I appreciate the solidarity, the shared bond and celebration, though through both pain and joy, these female musicians have, and it's something largely missing from the male experience, I find. In our patriarchy, for lack of another word, we've lost some of our ability to connect with that part of humanity. I feel like it's partly explains maybe some of the toxicity of the time we're living in, and I feel it's kind of a shame we don't connect more to it. I'm not saying it's entirely missing by any stretch. There's a lot of men who also have a similar feeling about what they're doing, but it's something that occurred to me as a guy watching your documentary, Louder, the soundtrack of change. I don't know if anybody else has remarked about that perspective from being a guy, and and kind of almost feeling, wow, that's pretty special what these women can connect, how they connect with what they're doing all together.
I think part of the through line of what you're sensing is that while there are often occasions for men of different vantage points to have to protest, for women, it has been a constancy. And the through line of Louder is that for this cohort of women running as far back in the narrative storyline as a Linda Martell or a Loretta Lynn through H.E.R and Billie Eilish, is the need to not only reclaim who we are, but defend our right to be our whole selves. And that the protest angle of music is about demanding your place in line, demanding your place in the conversation, and forcing the conversation wider. Men haven't had to do that as frequently as women have, as women of color have. And there is a shared bond that comes about when you know that part of your daily lived experience is you got to convince some guy to get out of the way or nudge. And so I think what is so remarkable about the film that Kristi has been able to pull together, and why I'm so proud to do this with Selena Gomez, was that we wanted that to be front and center. The reason it's louder is that it's not enough simply to speak. Sometimes you've got to outshout those who would demand your silence. And that is a common bond that so many women have, an experience that so many women can speak to. And luckily we were able to capture it in this movie, in this documentary.
You sure did. And this was all made, I'm assuming, well before all this news with Taylor Swift and all the what's happened in this election cycle, and how controversial a voice Taylor Swift has had. Right, I'm assuming you made the film before this.
Yeah. The original genesis of the film, Stacey and Selena came together in 2020, right? That's when your friendship began. And if you want to talk about
please.
Yeah. Okay. So they met, which we tell in the film, and so I know the story. They met in 2020. They came together around elevating each other's voices, and voices in particular of women and women of color who maybe didn't have a platform at the time during 2020 to get people out and to get out the vote. And there certainly was an impact that they shared. And from there, the two wanted to make a film that celebrated and honored and explored women and protest music, art and activism. I came on board the film to answer your question in spring of 2022. So this film has been in progress for more than 3 years, almost 4 years, really, right? And when I came on board in spring of 2022, which is before the summer of 22, which is when Roe v. Wade was overturned, it felt dire. I mean, like, there has been a long line of women who have come before us who have fought for the rights that we, and I say as a woman who had rights, had rights, and now doesn't, and now we are fighting for those rights. And so while we were making the film, and the process was really quite organic, each month, each day, each hour, right? It felt more important for us to be elevating each other, the voices of women in particular, who were taking risks unapologetically and refusing to be crushed by a system, as Stacey says in the film, a system who refuses to see who doesn't want to acknowledge their existence.
Yeah, and it says though each of them, over the years, because we see all the different representatives of various genres, all these wonderful musicians, musical artists, and they each have managed to turn their decibel for their voices up. To turn up the decibel, each one of them, for their voice to get louder and louder. And maybe that's a better way to kind of include Taylor Swift. I wasn't trying to crowbar her into this. I'm just thinking how better to show. Like if you had to add an extra 20 minutes on here, you would probably be, including Taylor Swift if we're, make a sequel or something.
Well, what I would say is I think Taylor Swift sits in that lineage.
Right.
that she, like a Loretta Lynn, who spoke up about the right to use the pill,
Amazing. I never,
or
yeah.
a Nina Simone, who spoke up about the horrific nature of segregation in a moment where she was told to be silent or lose her audience. That Taylor Swift, like so many women who stand at the pinnacle of their power, are choosing to use it because they understand the stakes. And
Right.
so I think it's what Beyonce was willing to do with Cowboy Carter. It's what we are watching women do across the time thread that Kristi has been able to excavate, but it's also the through line that knits it all together, which is when you have this capacity, to your point, when you can turn up the decibel, when you have the ability to use your voice, for women artists in music, their ability to do so is transformative. And it acknowledges the complexity of their own lives, but it also pays homage to the necessity of their stories being told because they can speak for so many.
Mm. It seems like this film couldn't come at a more timely, point. Um, I mean, there's so much on the line right now, and we need all of their voices. But like I was trying to sort of say earlier, we need the guys' voices too. I'm really like impressed with that as many men are kind of speaking up about women's reproductive health care as part of their issue as well. Um, I think this is an important documentary, I guess, for men to see.
Well, this is a time where men should recognize that, yes, we need to hear their voices, but a woman
Yeah.
can lead them. And
Yeah, it's the perfect time for women to lead.
possibly in the White House. So there you go.
Not now, yeah, absolutely in the White House. And I'm like, okay, we've had our shot. Let's just see how it goes. You know what? I mean, um, what have we got to lose? Sorry, that's not a great phrase anymore. Um, so for getting this movie out in the world, I mean, what was that process like, real quick? I mean, did you for non-Max subscribers, they're going to miss out on a pretty special documentary.
I mean,
Awkward
listen,
question.
this
Sorry.
this is these
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
yeah, no, I mean, I'm a documentary filmmaker, and
Right.
it is
Distribution is the
really
big battle.
difficult in this
Yeah.
moment in time to
Yeah.
get wide distribution for a documentary of consequence, of about issues of our time that is not just, I mean, obviously this film is wildly entertaining, and it is
Wildly.
also
The word.
vitally important. And those films are not getting distribution right now. So we're really grateful to have a streamer and a partner in Max that, millions and millions of households and women and men and children and non-binary folk, like, we hope a lot of people watch this film. And I will say that, like, oftentimes when you're making a film, people say, well, who are you making it for, right? And it's like, I'm not I don't think that, I think that this film has, like, literally has something for everyone. If you weren't alive during when Loretta Lynn wrote a song called The Pill, right? And risked so much to do that. If you were born when you had and you came of age and you had access to the pill, or you were a guy whose girlfriend had access to the pill, whatever it may be, right? There's entry points for you into this film because you're going to learn about music and artists that you didn't know about, or you're going to connect with songs and an era like hip hop in the 90s that make you feel a certain way. So you raise the point about men needing to stand up, and watch this film. Like, you don't know everything, I can tell you that much, if you're a man. And so you can start with watching this film, because maybe it'll just open you up a little bit,
Right.
to see and understand through such a compelling art form, which is music, some of what you need to know.
I think this film. Go ahead, Stacey. Sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
Oh, I was just going to say that this film is for two categories of people: musicians, those who are musicians, and those who aren't.
Exactly.
How's that?
And as someone who's not a musician, I mean, it was extraordinary to work with Selena, conceptualizing this and bringing it to life with Kristi. But I would tell anyone, come to Max for Louder and you can stay for the Food Channel. But we believe that, especially in this moment, and you've alluded to this a few times, we're in a moment where the power of music has never been more salient. We are watching more and more musicians use their voices and their storytelling to call us to attention. And we are in a moment where we also need to be called to action, that reproductive rights matter, that how a woman can enter and belong in this space matters, how we can envision our futures matter. And that belongs to all of us. So to your point, it's women who are people in music and not, but it's for women and people who aren't women. It's for anyone who needs to understand the moment we're in and their role in doing something about it. Because what I love the most about this is that while it spotlights these extraordinary women musicians, it also highlights women we've never heard of, like a Linda Martell, who I had the privilege of knowing about because I grew up in the South and I love country music, but most people will never know her story. Who didn't know that Linda Ronstadt challenged the industry by releasing a Mexican American heritage record. We can do small things. We can do dynamic things. We can do challenging things. And all of those moments, whether it's this it's standing on a massive platform or taking a small action like casting a ballot or signing a petition, that all of those moments matter. And it's how we make progress. It's how we become louder in our spaces.
Again, the name of the documentary is Louder, the soundtrack of change. It's on Max. And I have to let you guys go in a moment, respect everybody's time, but I just have to ask Stacey one last thing. You mentioned we're in a particular time and right now, and as a voter suppression activist, I just wonder if you have it's probably impossible to answer this in a few words, but in the remaining 2 to 3 weeks we have left before the election, I'm just wondering, what can we do, in terms of voter suppression at this point, if that's something we're worried about?
Number one, verify that you are still on the rolls, because that's part of how voter suppression happens. They lose your name. So verify that you're on the rolls and verify that you have a plan to vote, not just an idea, but a plan. Secondly, volunteer to bring friends with you, people you don't like that much, but you like the same music, put them in the car too. And then 3, vote. We take for granted that because we've talked about it, we'll get it done, but we only have one shot at this. And so if you verify, if you volunteer, and if you vote, we can get to the victory that we deserve.
Kristi Jacobson, Stacey Abrams, thank you very much for coming on Filmwax Radio. It's a thrill. Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Adam.
Your time. Thank you, everybody.